In days long past, when Aaron was younger, 'twas rent into two peoples each hungered. Fearbolg and Tuireadh Danan too, for power and glory for their kings true. As war wore on, a third foe saw a chance to gain advantage, foe more folk approached. Beleaguer Fearbolg to gift at first glance, the terms of a mutual alliance broached. The words and promises to time are lost, set upon that day none were there to hear. The ancient lines of enemies becrossed, for such ambition, jealousy or fear. The foemore's aid served only to prolong the fight, a perfect match in strength at last. Advance and retreat, no end to the song. They danced on, soldiers steadfast. And so our hero steps into frame. You, a soldier in the final fight, with Tuireadh Danans of grit and fame, a scouting unit known for awesome might. The stage is set, so let the curtain rise, unfold the tale before my waiting eyes. With the release of Chronicles, we've gotten to peer back into the past of Mabinogi further than ever before. It confirmed the existence of the Fearbolgs, and gave us a glimpse into the first battle of Tuireadh. Today, I'm going to provide a quick summary of the lore unearthed in the mission, and talk about where it succeeded, where it suffered, and where it fumbled a ton of very interesting potential. Settle in, grab a snack, and let's get started. The mission takes the form of a play directed by Lanier, and casts us as a new recruit in a scouting unit on the side of the Tuireadh Danans during the first battle of Tuireadh. Whispers drift over the battlefield that the Fearbolg king is absent, and we're deployed on a reconnaissance mission to get an estimate of the enemy force. Before we can return to camp to give our report, our unit comes under attack by a few waves of Fearbolg. With the help of our fellow scouts, we repel the enemy force and reconvene with the group to prepare a report. A few of the scouts mention sighting strange monoliths scattered over the battlefield, but the unit captain decides not to mention them in the report, focusing instead on estimating the size of the remaining Fearbolg forces. Before we can return to camp, we're once again attacked by an onslaught of enemy fighters, fending them off only to be cornered by a group of Fearbolg archers. The situation looks dire until none other than Nuah, notably with his arm intact, arrives and takes the archers from behind and escorts us back to camp. There, he meets with our unit and his generals, and we report that the Fearbolg champion, Shang, leads his troops alone, with their king apparently absent. The generals break into conversation, then argument, some urging caution as others spur Nuah to attack. Nuah cuts through the bickering, scolding the generals for fighting amongst themselves, and declares that he intends to approach Shang to offer peace. Each general in turn cautions against this, and before Nuah can respond to their counsel, Morrigan appears. Clearly agitated, Nuah quips at her, asking if she also intends to tell him how to handle the Fearbolg. The goddess's response is deadpan. She couldn't care less about the battle at hand. She's here to warn of an ominous presence looming over the battlefield, Dark Urg. She says that even the gods shudder at its presence, and that it would surely kill frail human soldiers. One of the members of our unit quietly asks if it has something to do with the monoliths we had seen, and the captain, suspiciously, tries to silence the chatter. Keenly, however, Nuah urges the man to speak, and so the scout explains the presence of the monoliths. Fully briefed, Nuah sets in stone his decision to parley with Shang and sends our unit out to destroy the monoliths. We destroy the 5 eerie stones and approach the 6th, only for the captain, to the surprise of no one who can read, to betray us and cut down the rest of the squad in cold blood. He makes a strike at us, but we evade it and ask him why he would betray us. At this point, the dude just launches into the most stock standard villain monologue ever. He tells us he despises the Fearbolg and struck a bargain with the Fomor to pretend to aid them in exchange for his help in arranging Nuah's death. The whole speech just drips with contempt, both for the Fearbolg and his allies. Anyway, he dies without much of a fight, and we move to aid Nuah. We are stopped by Kikol, who intends to prevent us from coming to Nuah's aid. However, Morgan appears once again, and the two speak. The Dark God reveals he'd hatched this scheme to isolate Nuah and turn both sides of the war against him. The Tuireadh for his refusal to spill more blood than necessary, and the Firbolg by pinning all their misfortunes onto him. Morgan promises to handle Keikol and urges us to find Nuah, and so we do. We find Nuah offering peace to Shang, who wants none of it, accusing him of offering false friendship while holding their king hostage. The giant of a man swings a few cleaving slashes at the god, and Nuah initially shrugs them off, until one of the swings rends his arm at the elbow. The champion steps forward to land a killing blow, but we intercept at the final moment. With that, we engage Shang in single combat. Compared to the rank and file, Shang is nothing to scoff at, but the nameless hero we play ultimately prevails. Defeated, the champion lies sprawled on the ground awaiting his death, and yet we turn away and leave him there in the mud, lamenting that we would deny him a warrior's death and dignity in his defeat. And that is the mission. First, let me say that it is very cool that this mission made certain Celtic equipment more accessible, and that I really appreciate that the mission doesn't stray super far from the myth that it borrows from. Shang is indeed the warrior who took Nuah's arm, and he was the general of the Firbolg. All in all, very neat. Glad we got more mid-game content with relevant and reasonably obtainable rewards to help people build their gear. That said, why the actual fuck is Keikol here? The original myth has nothing to do with the Fomor, really, but that's fine, creative license. But the fact that Keikol is here and seems to be leading the Fomors doesn't gel with existing lore. This is long before the second battle of Moitrah. Baelor should have been the one here. The spooky dark Urgroks even looked like the monoliths from the Apocalypse generations. Complete and utter lore fail. I really hope that this is intentional apocryphal storytelling on the part of Lanier, and that is going to be my cope. Secondly, I was kind of disappointed by the way the Firbolg are represented. There was a really golden opportunity here to introduce them as a separate race, and there are all kinds of interesting interpretations of them in media. We could have had Dungeons and Dragons style greenish nature giants covered in war paints, and instead we got regular dudes and an admittedly very cool looking giant. Also, why is Shang a giant? Is Shang a giant, or is he just tall? Iria hadn't been discovered by mortals yet at this point in the timeline. I'm not opposed to there being a giant present anyway. Shit happens, but it's just not ever explained, and thus I'm gonna mark it as just being done for rule of cool. I did think it was a little funny that they desperately avoided naming the Firbolg King because they already used his name for the Harmonic Saint Elf Boy and probably didn't want to cause confusion. Oh, and it's kind of weird that Nuah claims that the Firbolg and the Tuireadh used to be one people, or like at least allied, since in the actual mythology the Tuireadh were actually invaders who demanded half of Ireland and started the war when the Firbolg refused. There was this weird mishmash of like the Tuireadh being like really casually racist towards the Firbolg, and then Nuah's like, yeah, we used to be homies, remember? Not necessarily a lore fail, just like possible sloppy or underexplained writing. I have no idea what happened there. All in all, cool update. I'm very glad we got it. I hope we get to see more plot points along the timeline, because I'm now even more confused where Avon and Partholon fits into like the overarching timeline of Mabinogi. That's a different video though. Anyway, thank you for watching. It's been a while since I did like actual lore stuff, and it's nice to be back to my roots in a way, and I will see you all soon with another video.
Internet, effigy, videos galore. He's the tech where